This is the desert tortoise. They are native to Southern California, down to Mexico, and even parts of Arizona and Nevada. This is a reptile, so they are cold-blooded animals. They usually hibernate during the months of October to March. So right about at this time, during March, they're awakening from their hibernation and starting to come out and eat. They're pretty much herbivores. So they eat grass, any types of plants or shrubbery that they can find, but also mainly cactus. That's their main food source. For tortoises and turtles, they actually do not have any teeth. They have a beak as pretty much as a mouth. So they use this beak to tear apart their food. They don't need teeth really to tear apart any meat because they don't really feed on any meat source. And of course, out of the desert, there not being a lot of water, they do not drink that much. In fact, they can go months without drinking water, even a year without eating. From the plants that they eat, such as cactus, that's where they get most of their water. These are endangered animals, and there are several reasons because of that. In fact, we are the main reason why these animals are endangered. A lot of animals that we have here at the Nature Center, not only this one, are here because people wanted to have them as pets. So in fact, out in the desert, a lot of people like to go on vacation there. And when they do see them or they pass by and they see one, they think, oh cool, a tortoise. Let's take it home. It's not a dangerous animal, of course. It doesn't have any teeth, so it can't bite you. And obviously they don't run very fast, so they can't get away from you. So they're very easy targets to people. So they think, oh, a cool animal to have as a pet, they take it home. Then they realize they live over 100 years, perhaps. Some have been in captivity for over 150 years. So they do live much longer than us. That becomes a problem, and then they sometimes release it back into the wild. But the problem is, once you keep an animal in captivity for so long, they become very used to you taking care of them. You know, they're used to having their food brought to them every day. They're not worried about predators. So they kind of, and somewhat they lose their instincts from the wild and how to take care of themselves and protect themselves. Also, tortoises can actually get a respiratory disease from humans and our pets. So if people are not aware of this, they can actually get very sick, and it's very much like having a cold, and they can actually die from this. And the other problem is, like I said earlier, once humans put them back into the wild, if they have this disease, they can spread it to other tortoises, and therefore the other tortoises die off. That's why, that's the main reason why they are an endangered species. Another reason is when people go on vacation out to the desert, being out in the desert, a lot of off-roaders, they do become roadkill. They get run over because they blend in with the environment so well. They very easily camouflaged because they look like big rocks out in the wild. They look like dirt. So a lot of people don't notice them until the last second, or if they even see them at all. So it's very important that if we do ever see a tortoise or really any other animal out in the wild, it's best that we leave it alone. You know, of course, enjoy it from a distance. You know, feel privileged that you actually even saw one. But they are endangered, and we want to make sure that we protect them. So by doing that, we leave them alone, and that's pretty much it. If you do ever see one out in the wild, and for some reason maybe you have to move it, if it's maybe in the road and you don't want to run over it, you can move it, but you don't want to pick it up from the ground and pick it up high, because if you do that, they'll get very scared. And when they get scared, they actually will release all their water and their food. And if they do that, especially if it's time for hibernation, they can actually die during that hibernation because they don't have enough food and water inside their system. So if you do have to move a tortoise, you keep it very low to the ground, with its feet touching the ground, just like this. So just like that. That way you don't startle the animal. And then you can move it out of harm's way. Another interesting thing about tortoises is this being a male, you can tell by this little thing sticking out from under its shell, on the bottom of its shell. It's called a gular, and they use this to fight other male tortoises. They fight over females when it is mating season, and they do this by flipping one another over. And if a tortoise is flipped over, it most likely will not be able to get right side up. And if it is flipped over, they actually suffocate. The air putting pressure down on their lungs, it suffocates them. They can't breathe, so they will die actually fairly quickly. Another way to tell if it's a male, because females do not have this gular, is their stomach underneath. A male is curved in for mating reasons, and the female is flat. Okay, this desert tortoise is a female. Her name is Alison. One way we can tell that she is a female is by her bottom shell. It is flat. The males are curved in. She also does not have a gular like the male, which is that part of the shell that sticks out. She has a little teeny one, but she does not really have a gular. They do not fight over males, only males fight for females. Most people, will look at him and say, oh, turtle, turtle, but actually there is a very big difference. Turtles live in the water or near water, so they will have fins or webbed feet. This guy is obviously a tortoise because he lives on land. And you can tell by his feet, they're pretty big and kind of stumpy looking, you could say. Obviously he does not have webbed feet. He has long nails that he uses to dig in the dirt for hibernation. And for the female, they lay eggs. So they need to be able to dig these holes. But of course, all turtles and tortoises do need to come on land at some point for laying their eggs. So even though sea turtles may live mainly in the ocean, when they do have to lay their eggs, they have to come up to the beach. Their whole body is built for the elements of the desert. These shells are very hard. They're almost like bone. It's very hard for predators to attack them because it's very hard to get through the shell. So it protects them from elements, it protects them from predators. So it's pretty much like their armor. And of course though, when they are very young, say from their first 6 years or so, their shell is very soft, especially during the earlier years, first 3 years. It's very soft, and this makes them very easy prey. But as they get older, even though them being very slow and you would think easy prey, it's very hard for animals to get through their shell. Thank you for listening to my presentation on the desert tortoises. If you'd ever like to come visit the San Dimas Nature Center and see Milton and Alison, our desert tortoise, or any of our other animals such as Delilah here, we have other mammals and birds of prey that you can come visit. Thank you very much.